Okay, we are talking about redefining the mindset and then strategies, changing, translating strategies into action. Um,
Hello. So we are starting the presentation. Luckily, a group is volunteered to kickstart it for us. So as they are making the presentation, we are also going to evaluate them. So when they finish, we give them feedback. So you look at the outcome statement. They are sacrificing to be first, so the criticism shouldn't be too much. But subsequent ones, so they have to tell us the outcome, the objective of their presentation. Then we listen to the logical arrangement. The presentation, how does it flow? Were you able to understand it? So you check the logical arrangement.
I hope you are not a guinea pigs.
You are not living it.
So we are saying that we are going to assess the presentation. And the assessment, we are looking at the outcome statement, the objective. How have they stated it? Is it achievable? So we look for it. Then we look at the logical arrangement of the presentation that they make. Is it flowing logically? Then we look at the voice projection. The one speaking, can you hear? Luckily, we have the microphone to project, but so you listen to the voice. Then we watch for mannerisms. When you check through the register, most of us are in the school, so we're looking at presentation mannerism. Some people, when they are making presentation, you hear most often, this is a destructive mannerism. Somebody sitting in the classroom is just marking how many times you're making So it's a destructive mannerism. Some will be hitting the table somewhere. All these are destructive mannerisms. So we'll be watching for those things. Destructive mannerisms. Then we will be also looking at the slides that they have or their training materials, how they prepared them. Then, see, they have a time within which to operate. So we're also watching whether they can finish within time. Time consciousness. And we also watch to see if they will involve you in the presentation they are making. Were you involved? Did you take part? Then finally, we look at how they conclude their presentation. How was it concluded? So we're watching them, then we are assessing based on the outcome statement. We're looking at the logical arrangement, voice projection, mannerisms, slides, or training materials, whatever. Then we're looking at the timing, involvement of participants, and conclusion. So with this, then we are ready. But Chief, is it okay like that? Is it okay? If they stand like that, it's okay.
Please, let's all pay attention. Thank you.
okay, thank you. This group one will be talking about redefining the mindset
Please speak out loud.
and then translating strategies into action in the workplace. Okay. So whatever the mind of a man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And that's the core of the operation of any business, that people are focused on achieving great things. So our learning objectives are to define what mindset is, to know what the two kinds of mindsets are, how to identify fixed work mindset and growth mindset, how to change fixed mindset to a growth mindset, and then to understand how to put strategy into action. And these are outline. We'll be defining what mindset is. We'll tell you the types of mindset, how to change them, and how to put your strategy into action. So mindset is basically a psychological disposition, a mental attitude, or an inclination. Most often, It represents subconscious processing of information, what you are likely to do without thinking about in a particular situation. In the work-related environment, when we are talking about growth and then increase, we have two kinds of mindset, a fixed mindset and then a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is one that is unwilling to change, to learn new things, or to adapt to changing trends. For instance, when we take technology today, we started off with analog phones, and then we moved on to mobile phone, those which were less sophisticated, and then to more sophisticated ones. A business should be able to transit from the analog system to a faster and a more technologically advanced way of doing things. Then we have the growth mindset. Growth mindset adapts to change, learns new things, is innovative, wants to do things better, faster, and easier. And I think that is what business is all about, being able to do things faster, do it better, make it easier for people to use. For instance, the phone that you have in your hand, your choice of phone will depend on how functional it is and how it's easy to use. So you have a product, two products, how easy is it to use? All right. So how do you change mindset in a working environment? You should be able to carry all your workers along to be able to bring that change that will bring you the production that you are looking for. In order to carry your people along, you need to have a clear sense of direction. You should be able to analyze the situation you are in at the present, be able to know your challenges and see the direction that you want to go, and be able to carry your people along. So you should have done your SWOT analysis, have your strategy written down clearly in order for you to be able to communicate it. And in communication, you can use various strategies and various tools. For instance, if you are working in a company, you can set up a toolbox meeting every morning and then give snippets of your strategy to your workers so that on a continual basis, they are always being informed about where they are and where they want to go. In that way, they will have your strategy in mind at all times. And then you should also involve your staff in the planning and implementation of change. Change is easy when people are involved in it. Change is difficult when it is forced down. So instead of using a top-down approach, you should use a 360 approach. Bottom up and then also top down, meet halfway, and you would be able to carry your people along with you. And in changing people's mindsets, you should be able to address their concerns, provide feedback, build trust, and provide support, and also reward. In order for you to reinforce good behavior, you have to put in strategy to, in a way, punish wrong behavior and at the same time reward good behavior. So you can set up an award scheme and award people who are able to follow your strategies through and produce results. So I probably would have mentioned some of the things that you can do to implement your strategy. So let's welcome our next speaker. Thank you.
So now that we've looked at how to change your mindset, I'm throwing it to anyone here. Look at this table. It's a pyramid that has strategies that walks the talk. When we are walking the talk, we want to change our mindset. We are changing our mindset. What things in the business should we look at? What things should we be focused on? So anyone, what things in your organization, now that we've changed our mindset, what things should we be looking at? Anyone? No, anything in your organization that you've changed your mindset, anything you want to look at. What is of great concern in the business?
Yes, so in order to change the mindset, I think it's important to have a situational analysis. So when we say situational analysis, you check what is prevailing, and you are seeing the strengths of the organization and the areas of improvement. And then from there now, you see that statement which we had in the morning, this is how we do things. So you are now saying, what can we do to change that way? If it's not a good way, demonstrate it that we can do things differently. People need training. Like if you come to this training 3 days and you don't change a thing, or I don't know why you are here, then thank you.
Thank you very much. So in the organization, like he made mention of, it should be a 360 change. So bottom-up approach, top-down. So now let's look, in the organization we have values. Every organization has values. The organization has a vision. Where are we going? What do we want to achieve? It has a mission. So this pyramid actually provides us things we want to target and how we can drive the change. So we first look at actions and KPIs. What do we have to do? So in the organization, now that you have to tackle change in every process. So make sure that everything you do in the organization, you are having the change. Every step through the process, you have a change. So how do we want to do it? Let's look at our actions. Who are our owners? What deadlines are we putting to the things we are doing? What resources do we have to drive our change? Then we look at our objective. How are we going to progress? What plans, what goals, what targets do we have as an organization? Then we also look at our mission. So if you need that change, you should look at your mission, because once the head is not accepting the change, then the bottom is also not accepting the change. So you look at your mission, and the mission is, what do we want to do? What do we do? And who do we do it for? If it's a customer, if it's a profit-making business, which people should we target? And how do we create value for the people we are delivering to? And we also look at our vision. Where are we going? And the values. Do we respect our customers? And do we respect our employees who are internal customers? So all these things are things we have to target in order to bring change in the organization.
So in conclusion, the change that you desire, the growth that you desire in your business, you need to plan for it. And planning involves taking an analysis of your current situation, drawing up a plan for where you want to get to, carrying your people along, those you are going to working with, carrying them along through effective communication and involvement in the change process. And then also evaluate the changes that you make, give feedback to your people, and reward them for the positive gains. Thank you.
Oh, we can do better. Let's put our hands together for them.
Can we
change
have
mindset?
questions? Yeah.
Yes.
Questions?
So please, we'll take some few questions from the crowd. They did their presentation very swift. It was within time, so questions, comments, observations.
If there was a question, it should have been asked. So no more question. They have finished the presentation. He is going. So why are you coming to? So give them feedback. What did they do well? What didn't they do well? Was the objective clear? The objective is okay for you. Then their voice. The first speaker, the voice was okay. If you compare the two. Huh? Hey, one at a time. Makaranta now. So, yes.
For me, the mindset we were taught yesterday, if you look at the growth mindset, we have two ways to change the mind, and that is internally and then externally. So I'm asking, from the whole presentation, I didn't get the difference between the internal change of mindset. It looks like everything was focused on external. For me, that is how I saw the whole presentation.
Against the objective.
Yes.
Are you getting the objective right? From what they presented,
Yeah.
against the objective, have you achieved the objective? Yes. So you said someone was talking about the presentation, the first person and the second. How did you find them? The voice.
I had another one, but anyway, initially, his voice projection was not good, but he gained confidence and picked up within a short while. But she started off, with full force. May I please say something? Okay, thank you. I wanted to, can I jump the gun or I should wait? Training materials. So please, ladies and gentlemen, I see it many times that we prepare this for the audience to see. But now, if you put a small font, which you even struggle to read, that's what you have there. You need to amplify the font size and also arrange your work so that it becomes really neat and presentable. But my main concern is the person there should be able to read with no difficulty. It's not for you. You prepare it for others.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other feedback for them? So, number one, did he introduce his team? No. So we don't know who they are. Yeah? No. Who is she? No, then why did you bring them here? Why did you bring them here? No, we said, we are saying that, we are saying that the first group there, we don't criticize them too much. We are learning from them. Then subsequent ones, then we will be hard on you. So when you bring your team, let us know them. This is this is that, this is that, this is that. Let us know. Number two, eye contact. Please look into your participants. Anybody who is sleeping, you will know. And if you can, then you can throw questions to them. So please maintain eye contact with your group. The first speaker, did you notice any destructive mannerism? What was it? I marked 9. Was it? He said 3. You marked. You didn't mark him. So, these are destructive mannerisms. But they had mastery of the subject matter. Yes, you can see that they understand the subject matter. As for the slides, she has already mentioned it. You need to make it bold. The first presenter didn't involve the class. We didn't involve you, but the second speaker involved the class. What can that be a strategy? But our focus is that you involve the class. Then you speak to the slide. You had a triangle there. You just pick some few items there, spoke about them, and that's it. Then why did you show it? Whatever you are showing, you should explain. Another mistake we all do in mathematics, when you say 360 degree 10, what is it? You come back to the same point. So when Chisano, if you want to change somebody, you say it's 360 degree change. 360 they may call around 360 is the same point. 180 there is turning the other way, so I'm changing. Good. So They have done very well. They were within time. They didn't go beyond the time. They finished far behind, before the time. Yeah. So we thank you very much. So we hope that the next group, as for the next group, we will not be kind with you.
Yes, so the next group, group 8.
You should then give the guidelines.
Group 8. No, please, group 8. Group 8.
Okay, let's go.
After group 8, group 3. I asked you whether you were ready. Those who said they were ready, I took the list before. No. Oh, group 8. Oh, you are not ready. Please, you are working within 10 to 15 minutes. Your time starts now. Yes. Oh. Group 3, you can.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Claudia. I'm a member of Group 8. And today we are here to present on risk assessment and facilitation skills. So I wouldn't hold you much. I'll give the microphone to Datsun to start with risk assessment.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, I'm Datsun. I'm starting the presentation for Group 8. We already have 8 group members here. We will not go through all our names just because of time, but know that we are Group 8 and I'm the one representing for risk assessment. Yes, so these are what we are expecting to get after our presentation. That is the outcome after the whole presentation, what we expect you to know. The first is to be able to define what risk is, to know the relationship between. Now, what is risk? Risk is the likelihood of harm occurring. So in a sense, the possibility of something happening to us or to a property that might be bad can be considered as risk. Any possibility of something bad happening is risk. We have a relationship between risk and hazard. And hazard is anything that has the potential to cause harm, which means that anything around us, especially at the workplace, anything at all that has the potential to cause harm. So let's take this place as an example. We have people around us, we have electrical devices, we have installations, we have lighting, we have roof over us, we have chairs, we have tables, anything at all. The fact that they have the potential to cause harm to us, we consider them as hazards. Now, what is risk assessment? That is the significant hazards within the workplace and detailed control measures to minimize the risk of an incident occurring. Now, we've mentioned another word, incident. We have incidents, we have accidents, we have near misses, we have hazard risk, there are lots. But for the sake of time, again, we will be concentrating on risk assessment. There are some words that if we mention and you don't understand, maybe you can later talk about them. Yes. Then there's the need for risk assessment, which is one, to reduce the number of accidents, injuries, ill health, and fatalities. To increase quality of standards. Everything we are doing here is to increase or improve quality of standards and precision. It's also part efficiency and productivity. It is also for good management practices. It is a legal requirement. That means aside everything you are going to get, you have to do it whether you think it's necessary or not. That is what the laws require you to do. Then it is also to keep your team safe. Now, these are the steps in risk assessment. As you can see there, the first is to identify the hazards. So let's take an example of a work space. You take an example, I don't know, we are from different institutions. Can anybody here give us an example of his workspace where he works typically, so that I can use that as a case study in explaining this? Anybody at all? Anybody in the audience? Construction. Okay, good. So we are going to use construction throughout our presentation. I hope that is agreed. Yes, thank you very much. So you identify the hazard wherever the workplace is. You will come back to the explanations. You decide who might be harmed and how the harm might be caused. You evaluate the risk and decide on precautions. You record your findings and implement whatever you found out. Then you review assessments and update them if they are necessary. Yes, the explanations to them. Identify the hazards. Like I said, everything around you at all that can cause harm becomes a hazard. So there are ways to identify hazards when you are in a workspace. One is walking around your workplace, looking around, seeing things that could reasonably cause harm. There is other one which is asking your employees. In fact, you are not the only person with wisdom or knowledge in your organization, despite the fact that you are in authority or whatever. So you have to ask people, the employees. Even if you have some visitors or customers, you can also ask them when they come around, what do they think, what do they see? Yes, you read about typical hazards. Yes, you read about typical hazards that can affect your workplaces. Once you are talking about construction here, you are not the only one who has begun a construction somewhere. There have been several construction projects elsewhere. You can read on them, you can read online, you can pick up projects from other places and know the hazards that are related to construction. You can also have a look back at your accident and ill health records. You see, once it's a workplace, it is very possible that that is not the first time you are doing what you are doing. It's something that you usually do. If it's about construction and you're a contractor, it means that is not the first time you are constructing anything. You've been getting contracts on that. So you go back to your records, what has been happening in your contract elsewhere or on site. That can also be a way of identifying hazards. Then you check manufacturer's instructions or data sheets for equipment and chemicals before use. All the things that you'll be using. For example, if you are using a switch in any way, there's a data sheet in it. And that data sheets can tell you the risk associated with their material or equipment that you are going to use. Now, after you've identified the hazards, you have to also decide those who are going to be harmed and how. Now, whatever the hazard is, if it is not going to harm anybody, you can't consider it as a hazard. So once you have considered it as a hazard, you have to identify who. Now, who most of the times will refer to those who are directly in contact with, whether it's an equipment or a material, or those who are directly working with that thing. They become the immediate people that can be harmed. Those who identify how they will be harmed. So if you are talking of equipment, would that equipment cut them? Would that equipment fall in a certain way? Will anything happen? Like the way the equipment could harm them. Now, you evaluate the risk and decide on precautions. Risk evaluations usually is the most tedious part of risk assessment. Because once you've identified the hazard, you have to know whether the hazard can be eliminated. Now, there are 5 steps, and we are going to explain them once we move on. So the first thing is to see whether you can eliminate the hazard. If there is any possibility of you eliminating it, now you have to use a grinder in your work. If you can work without the grinder, that would be the best thing to do, eliminate it. If you think you cannot work without using a grinder, then you have to find a substitution. There's something to be cut or something that you have to grind. If there's any substitution that could be less risky, you have to use that. If you can't, then we talk of controls. Controls are in 2 forms. You have the engineering controls and the administrative controls. The engineering controls, let's take an example, a grinder, like I said. There could be something rotating. There is something that can cut. So in engineering controls, you might maybe want to put a guard around the rotating part so that it cannot cause harm to anybody. If that one fails, there is a way that, in fact, there's no way that you can put any guard there or do anything in engineering control. You also resort to the administrative controls. Then if administrative controls fail, or even if you are able to do something on administrative controls, the last resort is PPE. You have to understand, we usually talk of PPE all the time, but that is the last thing when it comes to risk assessment or evaluating risk. Then there are steps in risk. Then after you evaluate the risk, you record your findings and implement them. In fact, this is very important. The legal requirements here is about the recording of your findings and implementing them. Somebody can just go on site, an experienced person, look through certain things and come back and tell you that, oh, everything is fine, we can continue. But that is not enough. It has to be recorded. That is why in a lot of organizations, they have templates for risk assessment. So whatever you are going on site to do, you have to record them so that in case of any accident or incidents, you can show that yes, you did your risk assessment, and if something went wrong, you might not be legally found wanting. Yes, we have put down a template for the risk assessment. We'll go through that later. Then after you have done your, you have put down your records, you also review the risk assessments and update if necessary. This is in a sense that something you always do. There can be the potential of a change in process, or maybe you've added new equipment, or maybe there are even new staff around. You have to make sure that you review the assessment that you've done and update it if it is necessary. Yes, thank you very much. But before we end with this thank you, we would like to go back to the assessment table. Yes, so this is a typical template. It is very straightforward and short, but probably on grounds you might have something a little bulkier than this, which will include the risk area, it will include the hazard. So if the risk area is a construction site, like he said, you would have to identify the hazards that are associated with construction sites. You would have to talk of the risk that are associated with each hazard. Then you talk of likelihood of those risks that we've mentioned happening. So if it's a cut, the likelihood of a cut happening. Now you talk of their severity. If somebody gets cut, is it something that will make the person be hospitalized? Is it something that you can just put plaster on and leave the person? Is it something that can kill the person? Is the severity. Then we score them. In fact, we try to put this in digits so that at a glance, our minds can tell us which one is to be prioritized. Yes, thank you very much. Please, if there's any question or submission, we welcome that. Yes.
Thank you very much. I want a clarification. Risk assessment, is it a legal document or is it a legal requirement?
It is a legal requirement.
Feedback. Now they are looking for feedback. See, when they are making the presentation, you can ask the question. Don't wait till they finish. Okay. He's teaching. Let's assume he's not in the full-time teaching. He has to compress the you have to manage the time. You are not in the church. You are not, adjust your time. You take your presentation. In 15 minutes, somebody will ask you a question. So, yeah.
So, maybe the question will be answered in the next slide, so you never know. Okay, so I was quite happy with the fact that he did a quick presentation. He got all the way to the thank you, realized he still had some time. Yeah. Then he went back to his table, because there was no guarantee that if he explained the table, he would. So I think that was isn't nice to know something. So when he realized he had met everything, we could easily read and understand the table. So when he realized he was still within time, he went back. I am particularly happy about that one.
Any other? Yes.
Okay, there's somebody at the back. I just wanted to say, well done. But you need to say, have presentation, somebody, and the gender aspect, gender balance, you have done well, but that one. And then the presentations, you saw the slides, what I was talking about. Small font size, yes, which you yourselves cannot, but well done, the content was there. Thank you.
Very good presentation. I think it was well done. I was going to talk about the font size. The font size is a little bit too small for somebody who's back here. You did well, but I couldn't see your face. Did you want the mask off or on?
That's why
you know, because since you're the presenter, it's a little distracting. But I think your enunciation and pronunciation of the word and your projection came through very well. You knew the content and the outline was very good. But my question is, do you all need to be there? Because as you are talking, somebody else is doing something else, then I look at the person because it's distracting. So my question is, do you all need to be there?
Okay, that was what? It doesn't matter. That is their strategy. That is their strategy. Yeah. Yeah, that's what she's saying. To her, it's destructive. So the rest of you were doing practically nothing here. So, so
it's a group work. Yes, it's a group work. So,
but we don't know. You want to know them, but do you know their names? Then how do you know them? Yeah.
About they all being there, I believe that this presentation, we saw our questions this morning. Everything was organized in a very short while. So from my group, I'm sure other groups did the same thing, depending on what you are working on. You probably split the thing into groups and one person worked on one and fed the group back. So one will be a strong hand in one particular area. Depending on where the question will come from, you need that person to answer. So I think that's why they are there.
So, any other? What did you observe? Mannerism. Oh, only one. That's the one there. One there said.
Oh, I've said.
One there said, yeah. As for one, it's okay.
I think that I had a problem with their font size.
Yes, it has
when
been
you are
mentioned.
far away, you can't really read.
That one has been mentioned. So, good. How did he involve the class? Were we involved? What we are saying is that for your training, when you go back, please involve them. Involve them. You assume they will understand, but let them do. I will beg. You see, he asked the question, what is a hazard? And then he asked, he's going to talk the hazard based on construction. But I didn't see anything, examples from construction. Yeah, but he said everything will be based on construction. And he said all what he's going to do will be based on construction. So the examples and everything.
It was on time. You see, in the template for assessment, we're going to typically talk about that construction site and make an assessment for that. But because we were time pressed, we had to just leave it.
Was he not rushing us, the presenter? So you are going to talk about risk assessment, and cassette all the slides. You are going to finish it within 15 minutes. Just pick key points you want to do. Within 15 minutes, you have finished it. You're not going to talk about all the slides are more than you can't speak about this within 15 minutes. So pick something small that you are going to make a presentation on, which will be effective for all of us. See, like for a typical example, you were asking of a hazard. We just ask the class, can you identify any hazard in this room? Just ask us. Can anyone identify any hazard in this room? The leaking roof. Yeah? Even the projector hanging up there is a hazard. The air conditioner is a hazard. The people sitting, they are all hazards. The cables lying, they are all hazards. But then, they are hazards.
We actually identified the hazard.
Did you tell us?
They saw it. So there was a hazard here and we had to move it away.
Send the one who are there. So they identify, yes, this is a hazard. Now we are going to talk about risk assessment. Then what is the probability that this will fall and hurt someone? then you are driving into the subject matter. This is a hazard, but what is the probability, the risk? Then the mannerism I found was now, now. He was always saying now, now, now. That's what I put down, now, now, now. Eh? So you noticed it. He started very well by reading from the laptop. That is how you do the presentation. You check from the laptop. You don't come and read from the screen. You read from your laptop. But then, getting to the steps, he abandoned the laptop and came here, reading from the screen. See, in adult facilitation, we don't want you to turn your back to the participants. Okay. That is the essence of self, not to speak from the screen. You may be tempted to turn your back to the class. That is the only reason. We don't want you to turn your back to the class. Yep. This computer can get a pointer for you. No, I'm saying that you can point it from the computer. The Microsoft, yes. The PowerPoint has a pointer for you.
Yeah. Yes, in your presentation, when you are talking about the steps for the risk assessment, I'm expecting something like group formation, because you need to form a group.
Oh, that one, you are improving the slides for him.
Yes.
Yeah, fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that
also,
one, yeah.
And also, with your slide for the risk assessment, the last, I was also expecting to see the classification of the hazard, because if you fall from the top to down right now, the severity will not be the same as, so we have classes for them. We have probability, then we have the classes.
He mentioned it in passing, but I heard severity. What is the severity of it?
But
yes, he didn't.
I was expecting the classification.
Yeah, so when he gets more time, I hope he can cover that. Because I heard him mentioning that. Then when you are concluding, you don't necessarily have to say you can ask from the class. Yes, Auntie, what have you learned? Or what is risk assessment? Just to get feedback from them. It's not by force, say, facilitator should always summarize. You can throw it to the class. It's a way of finding out whether they have understood it or not. Yeah, so thank you very much. So, who is coming? I think you are coming, yeah. Okay.
Check the opportunity yourself. Yes. But this is so interesting. You know, most of the time I'm in front, but I said to myself, I just want to go and experience this thing and see. I mean, people have time. You look at that. That's the beginners. So you are ready so that I can start camera. Okay. You can start.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Bossman. I'm representing Group 3. Group 3, can we see you? We are learning our lessons very fast. Okay, so our topic is process strategies and process flows. And in this presentation, we want to speak on these things. What is process? What is strategy? What is process strategy? And then we ask ourselves why process strategy is important. And then finally, we will look at process strategies themselves, how processes are organized in organizational settings. Then the second in our topic is process flow. So we will attempt to design a process flow for a typical institution that we are familiar with. So I'll move quickly and try to define what process is. Process, as we have defined here, means a series of steps intended to achieve a result. Strategy is a systematic action to achieve a result. So you see that process and strategy already have some relationship. So when we combine these two, process strategy, then we say process strategy is a systematic plan of action to achieve a specific result. Now we see how the other way we will define it is also a production system that is designed to transform either raw material or idea into a certain kind of service that meets customers' expectations. So the whole idea is that at the end of the day, whatever process you are putting in place should be able to meet customers' expectation. Generally, that is what process strategy is about. So then we ask ourselves, why at all do we need to have processes in our business or in our settings? We listed a couple of reasons, but we'll be happy to receive from the audience. Beyond what you are seeing, why do you think we need to have processes in our organization? Why do we think we need to have processes in our organization? Anybody? Yes, my brother at the back. Fantastic. It will help streamline activity. For instance, when we came here, there was a process. You stop there, you register, you have your seat, you sit for the presentation, you go for snack break, you come in. That is a process. And the reason is that we want to bring certain kind of order, isn't it? Which we have stated here. Anybody here? Okay.
You want to avoid skipping certain stages. Okay. And so it's well outlined and then you follow.
Great. You want to avoid skipping a certain stages because if the process is not clearly laid out, you are likely to skip process, which may cost the organization.
It will allow for standardization. Things are done in a set.
Fantastic. Which we also stated here that putting process in place helps standardize processes. If there is no process, the same Bella Aqua water you are seeing, some of the bottles will be shorter than the others. That is because there is no standardization. That's what process brings to an organization. So we listed a few number of them. Optimize cost. Whenever you put processes in place and things are being done properly, you reduce cost. Meet customer expectation. Improve quality. Like I've said, if you don't have processes, you are likely to compromise on quality. And then it brings efficiency. We don't get to a place and everything is in haywire. There's anarchy there. You don't know where to start. You don't know where to end. That is what process brings to you. So then we move on to try to explain some of the strategies that you can put in place in your own organization. First of all, we have the process strategy called process focus. As the name suggests, this strategy is based on the processes in organization. So how this happens is that activities or operations are grouped according to processes. Okay, so when you enter into a place, the various activities are grouped. So for instance, let's take a metal shop that does a gate. When you enter that shop, how you can organize that place is a process focus strategy. Where if a customer walks in and says, do a gate for me, there's one place that you have the welding process, where they will take the metal, they will cut it, they will weld it into the gate format. But that is not finished. That is one group process. Then they will move it to the next stage, which is the grinding stage, where they will use machine to make sure that they trim all the sides of the gate to make sure that it is smooth and clean. That is a process because within that space of grinding, there are various processes. You sandpaper it, you grind it. Within welding, you cut the metal and then you put it together. So it's not just one activity within that space, but there are processes that have been put together because of the relationship and similarities. Then from the grinding stage, it moves to the painting stage or the spraying stage, where various processes go through. Some of the time, they galvanize it before they paint it. So even within the painting space, there are different processes in there. So as an organization, you observe how your activities are done, then you determine whether process focus is what you want to do. Now, there are other examples, but because of time, I'll move on quickly to repetitive focus. Repetitive focus. It involves already produced product for new outcomes. And the typical example is a car manufacturing company, where the car manufacturing company will have processes that involves manufacturing the gate, the windscreen, manufacturing the dashboard. They will do all these parts there. Then these same things that have been manufactured becomes new raw materials into production of the car. So there's a form of repetition where the same door, the same dashboard has been used in producing the entire car again. That is repetitive process because of the number of activities that the same parts go through in order to form a car. So that is one strategy that a business can adopt depending on how your organization is and what you are producing. Then the third one is product focus. And like I said, how the name sounds, product. The emphasis is on the product. And that involves producing high volume, low variety. That's the key word. You are producing a lot of things, high volume, but there is no variety because low variety, standardization. So for instance, if you are producing this aqua water, it is high volume, you are producing a lot of this, but the standard is the same. They are all, the bottle sizes are the same, the labeling is the same, the water content is the same. In that case, you use product focus because of the high volume and the low standardization that involves. If you are producing toilet roll, it's the same. So that process involves having emphasis on the product, the fact that it is standardized, but you are producing a lot of them. And then the last strategy we want to share with you is mass customization. Mass customization has a lot of relationship with what we just talked about, both process and product. Mass customization simply means that you are producing in mass, like the water I cited about. But this time around, there's some form of customization to it, where you can be changing the standard of the product very often. So for instance, if you take Adidas, Adidas will be producing a lot of shoes, but they can also standardize it and still produce it in mass quantity. That is where the difference is. In the water example, you don't change it. But in the Adidas example, you can be producing different ones, but in high volume. So it is very, very common in the fashion industry. They say a picture speaks 1,000 words. So all that I've said so far in terms of the processes, this is the summary of it. If you take process focus, this is where it maps to. If you take repetitive, this is where it goes to. And if you take mass production, this is where it goes to. If you take product focus, you see it's mapping to drinks, which is like the water I talked about. Mass production is mapping to the shoe. And then if you talk about product focus, it's mapping to Bob's. If you talk about repetitive process, it is mapping to McDonald's, which is about food. So this is just a summary of the first part of our presentation, which is about product strategies. I'll move on quickly to the second part of the presentation, after which we'll open the floor for questions. So if you have questions, just hold your gun for me. In a minute, you can ask your question. So this is the second part of our presentation. Having understood all this, how do you design a process flow for your organization? Something that somebody can look at and know the steps to follow through to achieve a result in the organization. So you can see somebody standing there and looking at it. Where will I start and where will I end? That is what a process flow does for you. So we'll define it to say it's a series of steps you and your team will go through to achieve a goal. Simple definition. It is also a visual representation or illustration or a diagram for step-by-step tasks or relationship in the process. So it is key to say it is visual. Ideally, you should document it such that anybody that walks into your organization, once you give that document to the person, they don't have to ask a lot of questions. That is why we say it is visual or it is in a diagram. And you show all the steps. And you also show the relationship. That is very important to know that step 1, it has a certain form of relationship with step 3. That relationship is also in a process flow. So as a team, we decided to take a school, since we have a lot of our members working in school, to design a process flow for an admission process, for instance. So before probably I show that, I should ask, if you are going through admission process in the school, what are some of the steps you expect to go through? Any volunteer? Yes. Okay, a tour of the school facility. You have to register. Entrance exams. Okay, so we have 3 points. Let's see our process flow and see if we captured some or all of them. So this is what we designed. We say that if you are going through an admission process of a school, you have to go to the school and pick a form, maybe from the reception. It could be anywhere else. But for us, we say at the reception. Then from there, you have to complete and submit the form. And then you procure an admission form, which normally these days you pay something for. After that, entrance exams, assessment. That's what is going to determine whether your ward will be admitted or not. Then from that, from the entrance exam, there's only going to be 2 results. Either your ward is going to pass or your ward is not going to pass. If it passes, it's straightforward, yes. So you go and effect payment for whatever cost you are supposed to incur. And then your child will be placed in the relevant class. End of admission process. Now let's assume for whatever reason your child was not able to pass. Then obviously, no, your child didn't pass. So what are the options to you? The school can offer you an option to say that, then let's repeat your child in the class that is coming from. If you decide that, no, I won't allow you to repeat my child, then admission declined, obviously. If you decide, say, okay, yes, you can repeat my child, then it flows back to the payment of school fees, then it goes through that same cycle again. So in a practical sense, this is how we think that a process flow can help an organization to design things in the organization to ensure efficiency and a lot of gains. In conclusion, we think that every business, whether you are offering a tangible or an intangible product, you need clearly defined processes to ensure efficiency, speed, and order. Failing to institute one means that is your first admission to failure. Now we think that business owners and managers should be intentional about processes to ensure their success. Thank you very much. Now questions, please.
So, excellent. Well done. No, everything is okay. Yeah. Precision quality achieved. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Involve the audience.
Yeah. Actually, please. What are these, my DTI people?
Yes, first of all, congratulations. The applause is more than mine. You've done very well. Yes, one thing I found, I wouldn't say wrong. He did an excellent presentation, but if this was supposed to be reality, you've already told us that you are going to close in 10 minutes' time. But it took like 30 minutes. You will be sleeping, so all your excellent presentation will not be heard by anybody. Oh, it took long. It was more than 20 minutes. I timed it. So, yes. So, in as much as your presentation is very quality and everything is on point, you have to make sure that you are falling in time so that your audience will not end up doing, they have to go for lunch or whatever.
I
Please,
disagree.
Okay. Yes, I also
Excellent
disagree.
presentation.
Yes.
You went through every point, because we do processes a lot. And I think you were very clear. I think what you know, at first they gave us 15 minutes. So maybe the mindset was 15 minutes. And then they gave us 10 minutes. So you had to rush through everything. But honestly, point on.
I would say an excellent presentation by all standards. We were not bored. I was so interested. I didn't even touch my phone when you were doing your presentation. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Wonderful presentation there. Yeah.
So far.
Just for me, for all of us, because as they present, it's an opportunity for us to learn. Now, if in our processes we continue to look at the manual, we need to change our mindset. Now you can get a digital form online. So let's consider in our processes to include digitalization. Which processes do we normally do manually? Now let's think of how we can have them digitalized. That's all. It's not even pertaining to the excellent group. It's for us all. Thank you.
I was so happy with the, that chart, the one that had the school process. And from beginning to end, he had pictorial. For me, I was struggling I couldn't remember where that thing was on PowerPoint. But he seemed to have everything there. At the admission process, he talked about the options. And that I said, I said, what you understand? So you can easily forget
good.
that.
So you see, he combined two topics. The two, each group has two. He did both. That's why we allow the flow process is on its own. Then the process is not so on its own, but he merged the two. Yeah. So, and it's a difficult topic. The processes, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. The processes. So he's done very well. So now he has set the standard. We can.
Okay. I think I enjoyed your presentation. Okay, but I was a bit confused. So if you could answer this question for me, I think I'll give you 100%. So can you go back to your flowchart? Okay, so I see rectangle, I see diamond, I see some circles. What does it mean? I don't know if...
Just designs.
Yeah.
So you see that we are deliberate. At the entry and the exit, we have the same sheets. If you see, this is end, this is end, this is end. We have the same shape. And then in the steps to those entries, we have rectangular boxes. Wherever decision needs to be taken, we have the diamond box. So you see? So it's clear, it's thought through.
Very good. So that is exactly so. So now we give him the 100. Very well. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Mr. Osei, please. Hello. Yeah. Yes, this is just a contribution. So your font size, you do not vary them. Normally, the headings are different from the body. You normally use 36 for the header, 24 for the body. So when you are doing it, just look at that.
Yeah.
Hello. I can understand that. Hello. I can understand that because he's the one presenting, he's getting all the credit. But I think we should also applaud the group members.
Oh, yes. They said hey, Kenya, one group would be another Japan. Can we have just one group, then we close? Nobody is coming. Hey. Yes. One more. I'm on my standby. Last one. We want to close a bit early.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Cecilia. I'm presenting on behalf of Group 4. Group 4 members, let me see you. Yeah. So this is for moral support. Okay. So you're presenting on process improvements and value addition, and then total quality management. Our learning outcome. At the end of this section, you would understand and use the PDCA cycle in improving production process. Know how to use the fishbone diagram to identify cause and effects of production problem. Quality, if you measure it, you can't, if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. So we have a scenario. A company produced 250 bags for its clients, but clients rejected 25. That's about 10% of the bags as a result of manufacturing defaults and improper alignment of processes and procedures. How would the company improve its quality processes to ensure efficiency in value creation and maintaining its quality standards for subsequent orders? Yes, I'm a bit tense because like people are, yes, the bar is high. Yeah. So we, yeah, so please, yes, so I'm trying to get there, okay? I'm getting to know, okay? I'd like to know how can we help this company improve their process? How can we help them? They've produced 250 bags, but 10% of it was brought back to them. How can we help them so that subsequently they don't make such costs? It's a production cost. Yes, please.
Thank you. Group 4, right? Is it group 4? Okay. There could be the likelihood that there are activities. So my suggestion is that a lot more focus has to be on operations.
Thank you very much. There's a hand over.
Okay.
I think, first of all, the company should know what the customer wants.
Yes.
Then, based on what they want, the raw materials or whatever is required per the standards that is set for it. In other words, the standard specifications for the raw materials should be correct, should be within the specs. The third one is there should be bill of materials that's required to produce that, and there should be a way of measuring, and then we have the quality assurance people coming in to check and make sure whatever is going to the customer is the right thing per the standard set.
Mm-hmm. I just want to add that there should be total quality management of the inputs, the processes, and outputs. Once you know what he said, what the customer wants.
Thank you very much. So we came up with the PDCA cycle. It will help us to improve it will help us to improve the process. So it's an acronym. So P stands for plan. P stands for plan. D is do. C is check. And then A is act. So we plan, we look at our problem, we planned the change that we want to improve on. So our process, is it from the raw material from the beginning of the production, or it's the process itself, that's the manufacturing stage, or in our delivery, we make a mistake, the company makes a mistake in delivery or in handling the finished good. Then we do it in bits and pieces. So in small, the changes comes in small bits. So you don't change everything all together at once. You change in bits, and then you check what you've changed. So the first change you enforced, you check to see if it's working out. That's the measuring. So you measure the change like he spoke about, and then you act again. So you act on it. The benefits, that means this is good. If it's not good, how can we make it better? So that's when you act on the change that you've enacted. So it's a cycle because it keeps going on and on and on. And then when do we use the PDCA cycle? We use it when we are developing a new or improved design of a process, product, or service, defining a repetitive work process, planning data collection and analysis in order to verify and prioritize problems or root cause, implementing any change, working towards continuous improvement. So this is our fishbone diagram. It helps us to identify the problem. Then we are able to know what is causing the problem. So we look at the material. How is it sorted out? What material are they sorting out before using for the production of the bag? The method and process they follow in the production of the bags. And then the manpower. Do they have enough manpower? Or as a result of 2 or 3 people working on the production of the 250 bags, so they are not able to finish the process, or sometimes there's error because they are tired. Then we look at machines and then equipment. Then we have nature or environment. Then we measure, so measurements. At the end of the day, are you measuring your process as you keep producing? Are you measuring it at every stage, or you wait till the things go bad, then you come back to hamper the quality of the product, the material before it goes into production? Then we looked at measurements. Sometimes you didn't get the right measurements the client wanted when they ordered for the bag, so it could hamper what you give out to them. Then the machine could be operating wrongly, or it hasn't gone for maintenance in a while. Then we have method, wrong production procedure. Somebody missed the process or something. And then we have environment. Maybe the environment where the workers are producing the bag was too cold or was too hot. We look at all that. So in your, we are using this scenario to help us know how to make the process, improve our process. And then people, employees make mistakes, machines, the certain format could go wrong. Maybe when you bought it, you didn't look at the manual when setting up the machine. So in the machine, we looked at the problems and then the causes. So we look at the solutions. So how do we improve? Using the right material at each stage. Store materials at reasonable temperature at the right place. So every material has, some materials you see that they set at room temperature, should be kept at room temperature. You look at all that so that you don't miss out anything. Have enough good material in stock. And then we have measurement. Involve experts in interpreting the blueprint into the finished products to avoid mistakes or endeavor into training. So you train your staff. You need to train your staff so that they know the procedure, they know the process, they are involved. If you can't afford to bring in an expert who have that as maybe a quality control officer in the production process, you train your employees so that they are good at the measuring process. And then you use, for production mistakes, you use the right equipment, and then you use the machines to sew instead of human hands to sew. For machines, we do
periodic maintenance. You have to always check your, just like when you have a car, you need to go to the, for maintenance randomly or periodically. Then we look at methods. There should be a proper and effective production process or step. Then environment, good ventilation helps. And then sometimes you allow them to go for intermediate breaks. As they keep producing, they go for breaks. And then somebody came up to say that sometimes the ironing process of the bag could have messed up the end product. So the ironing should be done appropriately. You keep the iron at a temperature that is good enough. And then for people, effective supervision. When you come around and you see that your stuff is not looking okay or is too worn out, you allow the person to go out and take in between breaks. So that's it for us. Thank you. So that's our end product. We've improved our bag, hopefully.
Thank you very much. Hey, you will not even wait for a second. Yeah, don't worry. Please, where is the other microphone? Okay, so she raised her hand first.
Okay, let me commend you. See, after the previous presentation, I wouldn't have had the nerve to even try. So I think you had so much courage to even try. And then the group 4 seemed united, or they are working as a team. When she started, she was quite tense. I think there was something that she should have been talking about, a positive, and a group member realized that she was a bit tense and offered the word that is rather not, like prompting her that, oh, you had missed it, Then along the line, she was tense and there was a lot of excitement in the audience, which was offering her a distraction. She openly said it and said, oh, I'm quite tense. Immediately the room became quiet, and then she got the kind of environment she needed. And for me, I think that you did great. Thank you.
Oh, no other.
Just a small one. It seems like the presenter didn't know when her presentation was ending. So she seemed surprised to see the last slide. So there should be some mastery of, of what your slides are leading to, and just so you know when the end is coming, yeah? But very good, very, very well done.
This is the first group to meet the SDG on gender balance. Because for the first time, a female presented as opposed to all the groups. Yes, I know the first one where a female presented, but it was later. But this one started. I want to tell you that you have done well. Your courage is a lot, because even when you started, I don't know how many times you have stood in front of a crowd, but you seemed very nervous. But that courage to say, I will do it, and that's how you build your confidence. Without...
Thank you.
Back there, the fishbone, just the last one. Mm-hmm. I like the fishbone diagram, but madam, I also have a question. I want people to tell me, particularly the other one. Yeah, this one. That was excellent. And this is one of the groups which has just given practical examples of their bag. And they are talking of the sewing machines, which is just in line with the product they started with. It was so articulate and it was aligned. Thank you. But what is the difference between acting and doing in the PDCA cycle? Thank you.
You didn't get a question.
What is the difference
Go to the PDC.
between acting
Action.
and doing? There's a do, there's a act. Use for me any other word. Which other word can we use for do? And which other word or a phrase can we use for act? For me to know that you know the difference between the two. Because acting and doing can be the same.
The team members, please, you can't leave it for them alone. They represent all of you. So if anyone has, help secure them.
Thank you. I also saw that situation, but this is how I thought of it. So they have plan, do, check, and act. I also saw the do and act, but this is how I understood it. So after coming out with the plan is implemented, that's the do. So when you do it, you need to check on it to find out if the plan is working. If it's not working, act. Find a remedy to it. That's how I understood it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You are masters now. Any other contribution? Okay, so I think I picked few. You were reading. We don't read when we are doing presentation. So what you have to do is make sure that you have your content. I'll pardon you because we just gave the slide to you today. Yes, but before you go and do any presentation, please know your content. You just look at it. You have to be moving. You shouldn't be standing at one place. Move around. You can even go to the back and come back. So don't just stay at one back. And you can only do that when you know your content. If you don't know your content, you can't do that. No, you can't go out of the room. Then, yes, you were tense. Don't let your audience know you are tense. Don't tell them that you are tense. Do something that you'll be able to control it. The only thing that can control is you to master whatever you are presenting. That's all. If you know your content, nothing will make you shaking or no, because you know what you are doing. Yes, but don't let your audience know that you are not comfortable presenting. No. Because Madam, we are born, Papa. Yes. Just breathe in, breathe out. Then look at the thing that can make you. Yes. You can even create a joke. Everybody will laugh. Then you'll be out of the situation. Then you move on. Don't let them know that you are tense. I think so far, that's all I have. Mr. Ose?
You pardon her. See, if you are making presentation, please don't start with negative statement. If you know, that's what she did. I'm nervous. They just told me last night that I should come and stand in for Mrs. Boateng. Negative statement. It tells the audience you're not prepared. So we don't start with negative statement. And it's not good. Now, when you said you were nervous, that's Bernice is saying, you can crack a joke, but jokes, so you have to be very careful. Some jokes can be very offensive. So be very careful the joke you are going to crack. You can also bring in icebreaker. An icebreaker. Icebreaker. Yes. So you do something. So you involve the class to do something. It takes, but the time they finish, you are a little bit calm. You calm down, then we do. The Ishikawa, the fishbone diagram. The fishbone diagram, you need to explain it properly to your class. You see, the main problem is what you put down on the fish as the main, the one middle there, the deep line with the arrow on it. That is the main problem you have identified. This is a problem-solving tool. You're using it to solve a problem. So you put down the problem. That is the bold line there, the main skeleton of the fish. Then, what could be the factors leading to the problem? Then we look at it from the labor force, manpower. But because now women are saying manpower, they don't like it all. So people, they put their people. But idea was that we are trying to use MMM. Most of the factors we put there, we start with M, about 8 M's. So which of them do you want to use? So M, manpower. So you look at the people. And for each, what can contribute to that person making errors? That's why the arrows are there. So by the time you finish completing, you get a breach of bones. At the end of it, it looks like the fish without the flesh, the bone. So the manpower, it could be their skills. So you put down skills, the training, educational background. Some of them financial position, alcoholism. So all these things, you look at it from the point of view of labor, man. Then you can put down the materials. Did they buy quality materials? So what can be, how did they store the material? So you look at the material point of view, then you get all the other factors. You look at the environment, you look at the machine, the methods, and other issues. So all of them will give you factors leading to the problem. Then out of this, you get a solution to the problem. What can we do? Then he talked about the PDCA. So we plan whatever we want to implement. Then the do is, like he said, the implementation. You implement. As you implement, you cross-check from time to time whether we are meeting the solution. So you check. If there's any deviation, you put in corrective measures. So it's the act, you are acting on the corrective measures so that they come back to the normal. So it's PDCA. PDCA is a cycle. And cycle, you kept on saying circle. And somebody reminded you over there, cycle. And you kept on going back, circle. Be careful with your audience. The students, when you go on be doing that thing, next day they won't come on. Be careful. They may even give you a nickname. Yeah. So this, the bone, it has several names. It has about 3 names. The cause-effect diagram, the fishbone diagram. The person who brought it, Ishikawa, Kaoru Ishikawa. So they also call it Ishikawa diagram. The same thing, but different names. You can let them know. That's what nice to know. It's a nice to know. It's not the main thing. So nice to know. If you have time, we'll let them know. But in your introduction, you told me you were going to talk about quality, total quality management. But I didn't hear anything about quality. She mentioned it, the first slide, that he's going to talk about total quality management. At the end of the day, nothing was mentioned. Me, I'm a student sitting down. You have told me you would talk to me about total quality management. You have finished the presentation. You didn't talk about it. Then the student is coming to defend you?
I want to defend them.
And you say, go and see. Go to Gemba. What is it for? This is the Japanese. Gemba is factory. Gemba means factory. You see, go and see. Go to. That's why I say go to Gemba factory. Go to the factory. No, you clear it. You don't put it there. Yo. Yeah, it's okay. So yes, yeah.
We can't say they didn't talk about it.
Okay, so not to the group, to the facilitator. So anybody who can help. So assuming in your audience, you have somebody, some people are specialists in a particular area, and you are doing a presentation and somebody raises something that you don't know about, is it okay to throw the thing back to the audience and see how? Because, well, it would be embarrassing not to know.
Yes, you can do that.
The facilitate, you say you are a facilitator. It's a paradigm shift. In the old days, you were the teachers. You came to display what you know to your class. This time, you are leading the class to do. So a question can go back to the class. I'm saying the laptop or so your battery is getting low, so you can turn it off. You are done, so you can turn it off. So please, it's a questioning technique. When the question comes, you may know the answer, but you can refuse to answer. Throw it back to the class. Please.
Mine is just a question. I wanted to find out if we are going to have a fair share of the presentations, as whether we can have the various slides. Okay, right.
The main slides, no, everybody has it all. This one. Okay, yeah.
We'll take all the presentations and send it to all of you. Okay. Because you're going to use the same. So you get them. Yes. So the leaders, please, we'll ask you to give it to Edwin, your presentation. Then we'll send it on.
So that he will ship it to you.
Just one. Say, please allow me to say that, you know, this group, although they didn't talk about total quality management, to say the word, like they said it in the introduction, that we are going to talk about total quality management. I think if we follow the way they covered and presented, there was total quality management there, because they were talking about production of this bag, they talked about material storage, they talked about people, they talked about, it's implied. I mean, that one we need to give them the benefit of that.
Yeah.
But
This
they
one,
didn't
the
only pronounce the word.
The PDCA is actually, improvement process. Yes. We keep on moving on. It's just like a ball. Of course, you see, you are climbing, it's going, it's rolling. Every day you are rolling, now moving forward. But total quality management is a whole ball game by itself. Where we should have, maybe they will have a second chance tomorrow, because every group has 2. Yeah, so that one is okay. So we want to end the session for today. Today is a holiday, and we thank you for coming. We will have our closing prayer. Tomorrow, God willing, we try to be on time. If you come on time, we can close early. So please, tomorrow, let us come a little bit early, so that, let's listen to what Daniel has for us.
Hello. Of change in our company. Hello. Who are we? Are we not the agents of change? And our people, our employees,